Hi guys, did you know that the fall is the perfect time to plant? Just walk around the Lowe's garden store. They got signs everywhere that fall is for planting. And in all seriousness, it truly is. It's a great time to plant perennials or crops that need to have a certain number of chill hours or vernalize over the winter. In this video, I'm going to share with you 5 different crops that you should go ahead and plant in September or October, depending on your first frost date, that will give you a huge jump start on next year's growing season. I'd like to welcome you to my backyard Kentucky homestead. My name is Kim. Let's get started. So the first thing that you want to consider is planting fruit trees. Fall is a great time. There's all kinds of varieties that you can choose from, as well as different growth habits. And the reason that you want to plant them in fall is because the soil is still warm. So the roots have a good opportunity to develop and really get in there to set the plant up for success for next year. But it doesn't have all of the heat pressure, it doesn't have all of the pest pressure or disease pressure that you would get throughout the hot summer months. As far as varieties, there's all kinds. I've got apples and peaches, nectarines, cherry trees over that way. And then there's plum trees, apricot trees, pear trees, all kinds of trees. Now with them, you want to make sure to check to see if they need a pollinator. A lot of nectarine and peach trees are self-pollinating, but they do better if they have 2 different types near each other. Apple trees, for the most part, I believe are all ones that need to have a second type of apple that blooms at the same time in order to pollinate. So they have to cross-pollinate with a different variety. Now, I bought most of my trees from Stark Brothers, which I really like. They give you information about when it blooms, how many cold hours it needs, and also what zone it's good to. So with apples, you need to have 2 that will bloom at the same time. So is it mid-season, early season, mid-season, or late season, or in between? And you can match up varieties that will bloom at the same time frame so that you have a much better chance of setting fruit on the apples. Within the tree types, you also need to consider how much space you have. So there are dwarf trees, semi-dwarf, and standard trees. Standard trees are the ones that get like 20 feet tall. Do you have a space for that, first of all? Do you want to have to get up on a ladder to pick the fruit? Most all of my trees are going to be the 8 to 10 foot dwarf size. Another option, let me turn this around. They do have a columnar apple tree, which it'll grow at 8 to 10 feet tall, but it's only like 2 feet wide. And the apples actually set right on spurs on the trunk. So if you're very limited in space, you do have a lot of options about what you can choose for fruit trees, but definitely consider it. Chill hours are also important. Some need a lot more. So if you're in the southern part of the country or in a warmer zone, you want to make sure that you have enough chill hours, which I think is below around 35 or 40 degrees. I have to double check that. But you want to make sure that you have enough chill hours for them to properly set fruit the next year. So check out the fruit trees. I do recommend Stark Brothers. I've been very happy. And what I have found at the end of the spring season, so early summer, and also the end of the fall season, so probably October-ish, they will have clearance sales, and most of the trees I got were like $18. So it's not a whole lot of money, hopefully a really good investment. I'm looking forward to next year. I think it'll be good. The next crop I would recommend planting in the fall are strawberry plugs. I think you have to mostly buy those online, but you may find them in a local nursery. The big box stores don't have those. But there are 2 types of strawberries, everbearing and June-bearing. June-bearing generally put all their fruit on at once, and usually around June. Everbearing, like these seascapes, will actually have berries throughout the season. I've actually harvested berries off of these plants in November, the last 2 years. I'm not real happy with how they're performing in the green stalks. I'm having a hard time keeping them moist enough. So I'm going to be moving these to a raised bed this year, probably today. I'll share that video with you very soon. But I think that they'll do better. I've seen other people that have had really good luck in beds. I think it would be better. I'm not getting enough sun. It's my setup. It's not the green stalks, but I'm having trouble keeping them watered, and the light requirement it's just not working well. So I think that they would do a whole lot better in the raised bed, but it's a great time to plant in the fall because it allows you to get them rooted in before they go dormant, and then it's like having a whole year of growth when you start next season. So you don't have to pick off the strawberries, you don't have to pick off the flowers. Even with your everbearing, if you plant them in the fall, you can just start harvesting next year as soon as they grow. or as soon as they develop fruit, you can start harvesting. So it gives you a jump start. You don't have to tend to them the entire summer. You can just plant them in the fall, and then they are just ready to go. Again, keep them watered if you're not getting regular precipitation. But I really, really like the seascape. I also have honeyoy here, and we've got a few strawberries to pick, actually. Kind of surprised because it's been pretty bare lately. Another thing that I've found is that strawberry plants, which I didn't know this, I just found this out, are sort of like tomatoes in that if you shake the flowers, they will actually pollinate better. And it's like corn, where there's multiple sections of that plant that the flower that have to pollinate. So this one here probably didn't have a good pollination because it's misformed and it's small. The ones that pollinate well and get bigger, sort of like this one, got fully pollinated. So you can actually come through like your tomatoes and next year I'm gonna be shaking the flowers, make sure they all get pollinated better. So just a quick tip, I just found that out. Pretty cool. So the next thing that I would recommend, or I'm trying this year actually for the first time, is planting bulbing onions in the fall. So supposedly, as long as you're in zone 5 or higher, you can actually start onion seeds in August. And I'm gonna plant them out into the garden in early October. I'll let them root in for a while and then mulch them up really well. And supposedly they will overwinter and actually start growing as soon as the season starts warming up next year. And because they've already got a root system started into the garden bed, they should get bigger. I got pretty decent onion harvest this past year. They like to try to get some of those really big monster onions. So we're gonna go ahead and give this a try. But if you're interested in this, check out this video. It may be a little bit too late this year because you do want to start these earlier in August. But onions are maybe a really good thing to try for the fall. We'll see. I'll let you guys know. So the next thing that you want to plant in the fall is garlic. Garlic needs to have a certain number of chill hours in order to separate or vernalize, stratify, and create a whole head. So you plant the clove and then it goes through the cold winter, it separates, and then you get a fully formed head the next year. You need to do that usually 4 to 6 weeks before your first hard freeze. A little different than your frost, so it's going to be 28 degrees or lower. So these are going to be a little bit later than some of your other crops. There's 2 types of garlic, hardneck and softneck. Hardneck garlic is really good for your northern climates, while softneck is really good for your southern climates. If you want to grow hardneck in the south, you're probably going to need to put that in the refrigerator for a few weeks before you plant it. And then for a softneck, you can go ahead and try that in the north. Depending on where you're at, it may or may not work. Softneck will store 8 to 12 months, where hardneck will store 6 to 8 months usually, if you do it right. Mine didn't work out so good this year. But hardneck will give you scapes, which is just a flower stem that develops. So you want to go ahead and pick that scape off when it develops, and then you can make pesto with it. You could use it in sautés, or you could dry it and make garlic scape powder. So there's a lot of options with that. Softneck has a milder flavor, while hardneck is a more robust flavor. So it's a matter of where you're at, how cold you get, what type of garlic you want to grow flavor-wise, and do you want to braid it? That's going to be softneck. So that's a whole lot of things. Now, if you have not ordered your garlic yet, you probably want to go ahead and do that, because online sellers will usually sell out pretty quickly. You can buy organic garlic in the grocery store and try planting that, but usually you want to go ahead and get certified disease-free seed garlic from an online grower. If you get regular garlic at the store, it might grow, but those a lot of times have sprout inhibitors sprayed on them, so they just won't grow at all. They'll just sit there and rot. So anyway, get your garlic if you haven't. My first hard freeze is usually mid-November, so I'll be planting out garlic in the latter part of October. The next thing that you should consider planting are berry plants. So we've got blueberries, raspberries, blackberries. There's all kinds of berries that you can plant. So they do really, really well planting them in the fall. Again, they can establish that root system without all that extra pressure on it. A lot of berry plants, especially blueberries, like a lower acidity, so you will need to add soil acidifier to the soil. During the growing season, you also want to continue to add soil acidifier each month to help them grow strong and healthy. Now these I'm going to be transplanting into raised beds. Let me show you what I've got. Well, also grapes is another one to plant now as well. So 6 things. Plant some grapes. So I've got my trellis system. It's not 100% how I want it, but it's pretty close. But we've got 4 different grapes, and we've got them in these raised beds here. And I'm going to be putting more of these together for the blueberries and putting them over on the end of the garden beds on this side. So then we will have just a whole line of berries and grapes and fruit and trees, and it's going to be wonderful. Get a little mini orchard over here. But this is my first attempt at trellising, so we're trying to figure this out. Next year we will prune these back, but I'll link below the resource I'm using. It's one of the university websites. But trying to trellis them up so that they grow well and we have grapes. So hopeful that we'll have them next year, but we will be using these raised beds. I really like that they are open on the bottom, so it does allow the roots to go into the ground, but it keeps the base of the plant raised. I'll link these beds as well as some of the other stuff I'm using online or below in the description. So yeah, so grapes, berries, rhubarb if you can find it. So I would say rhubarb is a 7th thing that you could actually plant in the fall. I'm hoping next year to have some better results. I'm going to get all of this on drip irrigation so it'll have more consistent water next year. So it should do a whole lot better. So there are 7 food crops or fruiting trees, bushes, and plants that you can plant in the fall. Highly recommend doing that. Also, you could still plant things like kale and carrots, brassicas, kohlrabi, cabbages. Some of those, the cabbage, broccoli, cauliflower, you may want to go to your local big box store and grab some starts of your nursery. Grab some plants that you can just transplant because a lot of people are running out of time for that. But you want to look for shorter maturity dates on the seed packets. So for right now, I've got 50 days to my first frost average. Last year, we didn't have a real frost until November, so we could actually have plenty of time left. But there are things like kale and some of the other brassicas, carrots, that actually taste better once they have their first frost. They push out the water, they bring in the sugar to keep those cells from basically exploding, which is what the freezing of it, the freezing of the water causes the cells to expand and then they break. And that's what ruins the crops. But if they replace it with sugar, so they're actually sweeter and they taste better. So a lot of stuff that still can be planted. Definitely any of your perennial flowers would be a great thing to plant. Again, it gives them the time to root in and develop a really good root system over the fall and into the winter. If you're not getting consistent rainfall or snow that's melting, you need to water every 2 weeks or so, just a little bit of water to make sure that root ball doesn't dry out. So anyway, I'm gonna get harvesting. There's some stuff out here to harvest. So thank you for joining me. If you're interested in more gardening content, check out this video. Until the next time, I wish you happy gardening. Have a great day and bye.